So what we have here is a tram simulator. The switches are proxies for the sensors, and the red LED is the fault detection LED, which glows when there is a fault. The yellow LED will glow when the tram is going reverse. The blue LED will glow when the tram goes forward, and the green LED glows when the tram is actually running. So the blue and yellow LEDs just act as indicators of in which direction the tram would go depending on the sensors. So let's see how this works. So once I start the serial monitor, the sketch initializes, and you will see the lights just blinked and the green light started. The way I have written this code is, once the sketch initializes and the tram is in between stations, it keeps going forward. And like if you see these two switches here, both of them are in the middle, which means that the tram is in between the stations, and that's why it's going in the forward direction. And this is sensor 1 and this is sensor 2. Now see what happens when I close switch 1, which means I have triggered sensor 1. So if you see, the blue light glowed on and the green light stopped, which means the tram is in one location, is in either one of the stations, and the blue light indicates that depending on this sensor configuration, it will go forward once you hit the go button. And you can see this black button here is the go button, and when I click that, the blue button will remain glowing and the green LED lights up, you see, and then the console shows that it's going forward, and the previous line will go forward, will show up when it's in either one of the stations, and it will go forward. Now see what happens when I put the sensor, the switch, back to its off state, which is kind of a proxy for its in between stations. Once I do the off, you'll see there is a console statement which says it's either halted or it's in between stations. And then now you'll see the green light is still glowing, which means that the motor it keeps on running. And what I'm actually doing when I'm changing these sensor values is I'm kind of like simulating what would happen in the actual scenario. In the actual scenario, the sensor values keep changing depending on how close or far the tram is. And now if I close the other switch, which means that the tram has reached the other station, you'll see that the green light will stop glowing and the yellow light would start glowing. And then you'll see there is a corresponding console statement. It says will go reverse, which is exactly what a glowing yellow light means. And now if I turn this back to its off state, it will show it's either halted in between, whether it's halted or it's in between stations. And now if I turn the other switch back on, again it'll say that it will go forward, and it's an indication that it's in either one of the stations. And this thing can happen like as many times as you want, in the sense like when I press this, it will say it's going forward, and then the green light keeps glowing and the blue light also keeps glowing until it stops in between stations, which is when the blue light stops glowing and the green light stays on. Now let's see what happens when both the sensors are triggered, which is impossible in the actual scenario, but say if both the sensors are blocked by something, the motor would the tram would halt and the red light would glow. Oops. Sorry, the switches or the proxy sensors, they are just like barely, they're not a permanent joint. They are pushed into the breadboard, so sometimes when I operate the switch they come out, and that's why it didn't immediately glow red. But if you see the console statement, it'll say fault detected and everything stops. And if either one of the sensors get released, again the indication is whatever, whether it's forward or backward. In this situation we have a blue light glowing, which means it's going forward, and then if I hit the start button again, the green light glows, and then you get a corresponding signal that's going forward.